bloody wicked.
Oh, how about that?
Reds and Cubs, watch the Chicago fans, CC. Nice barehanded grab. That is the catch with the hands.
Oh, that's Hall of Fame hands right there.
Didn't even spill his beer?
Yeah, it was a little warm for that black shirt and everything yesterday, but that's okay, Clint Black. Great grab there.
A's and Mariners, Ramon Laureano crashing into the center field wall to make this catch. Oh, but he makes that catch.
Oh, I'm all about it. See, the ball tricks him a little bit, Nick. See it start going back over his head?
And his head's down.
And he got lucky now. This is a gift.
He's not even seeing it.
Gift.
That is great.
This is oh, I caught that.
Look what I found. Yeah, I mean, his head down. Nice play, though.
Moving on to the Thunder. They're still looking for suitors for their newly acquired point guard, Chris Paul. Working against the Thunder, well, Paul is 34. He's on a 3-year, $124 million contract, and his game is on the decline. Working for them, well, he's got a great nickname, and right now he appears to be healthy. A recent report says there's increasing expectations that Chris Paul will start the season with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Nick, how do you think he fits in here? Because it appears and seems like this is where he's going to be for at least the foreseeable future.
Well, no, it's not a good idea to keep him, but they don't have any choice. Right now, they can't sell a product that no one wants to buy. And people will eventually want to buy the product that Chris Paul provides, but you're going to have to wait until the entire league is available to you. 40% of the players under contract in the NBA right now are ineligible to be traded. 2 out of 5 guys can't be traded because they signed this offseason because of how the CBA works. You're going to have to wait until December.
Okay, now tell me something. Did you think the audience either didn't understand the 2 for 5 or they didn't understand the 40%?
I was trying to put it in simpler terms.
My 12th grade English teacher told me, why use 2 when 1 would do? So your word club.
Go ahead. I was trying to simplify it. Maybe it didn't need simplification. The point remains that there's not enough teams right now that can get in the game for Chris Paul. But for the Thunder, it is in their incentive to be bad, and it is in their interest to play Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at the point as much as possible. Chris Paul hurts both those things, because while he's not worth his contract, and while he is on the decline, he will help you win games. They have all these draft picks over the next 7 years. The only good ones are going to be theirs, and that's assuming they're bad. So they need to be bad instantly. And so, no, it's not great, but what are you going to do? You can't. The only way you could get Miami to take him right now is if you included a bunch of picks along with him. They're not in the business right now of giving picks away. They're in the business of bringing picks in. So he's going to have to start the season there. They will make it work throughout. I would be shocked if he finished the season there. He's not going to play the whole year there, but through December, and then see if a team like the Knicks says we got to get in the market, or if there's a team that thinks, hey, we're a Chris Paul away.
I think most basketball fans are sitting here shocked like me that 40% of the players aren't available. Now, with the hype on the NBA, we've never covered the NBA in the offseason the way we've done the last couple off seasons, and this has the most hype, the most coverage. So 40% of the players aren't available, so there's not a whole bunch of trades to be made. And, I mean, the Rockets are so happy that someone took Chris Paul off their hands. So, I mean, how are the Rockets going to get Chris Paul taken off their hands? Then someone else is going to take Chris Paul off OKC's hand. It's going to take some time in doing this. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he started the season on OKC and eventually gets moved, because right now teams know they're trying to move him. So they're just sitting there and being like, okay, you got all those picks. Bring some of those picks to me. And they're like, you know something? Maybe we can bring them to training camp. Them talking about Chris Paul in the future in OKC is just talk. All right, it's just talk to be able to get through the offseason, try to get through training camp, and especially try to develop those younger players that are more important than Chris Paul.
And we're also so late in free agency that teams already have done most of their work. If this was a lot earlier, this might be a different conversation. So if you look back on this trade now, Houston and OKC, it would appear that Houston got the better of this trade.
Well, this is why I've been so adamant about defending the trade from the Rockets' perspective, even though there's real questions about the fit with Russ and Harden.
But there's two bad contracts in the NBA. There was a bunch of bad contracts, but two worse. John Wall and Chris Paul. When Chris Paul gets traded for Russ, I haven't seen someone arguing that OKC won in this deal. No one's arguing that. Now, Nick, he's got a connection to Houston. He's trying to say that they're a better basketball team and everything. It's clear Houston won. When you get off of Chris Paul's contract and you're able to get Russ at his age and the amount of money you're going to pay him, basically the same thing you're paying Chris Paul, you would much have Russ. But the conversation, did they win, and compared to, is this a winning formula? Those are two different questions.
That's totally fair.
Now, their roster, when they start day number one, yes, they are better. But this is not just about talent. It's about scheme. It's about will people sacrifice. Chris Paul and Harden, there was no sacrifice. And Chris Paul was not the only one wrong in all his demands there in Houston. Part of the problem is the head coach, because the head coach won't change and he's not a confrontational guy. But on paper, man, it's clear this is a one-sided trade. We got to get off Chris Paul, and if we can get Russ, and one of his buddies is Harden, because there's not a lot of people that would match up with Harden well. So we would be having this argument with a lot of other guards, Nick.
Well, and for Chris Paul, to bring it full circle to a degree, I know people are going to say, okay, so wait till December, and then the Lakers can trade for him. No, they can't. I went through all the contracts yesterday. They would have to trade everyone they brought in this summer, except for Anthony Davis. Danny Green gone, Boogie gone, Kuzma gone. Like, the Lakers are not a viable contender. There is not a contender that is going to be in the market for Chris Paul, at least out west. Now, these pseudo-fake contenders in the East, maybe. But the reality for Chris Paul, unfortunately, is this year is going to be a year, be it in OKC or wherever he's dealt to, where for the first time since his rookie season in New Orleans, that he is not competing, forget for a championship, most likely for a playoff spot. And then in a couple years, when he gets bought out, maybe he catches on with a contender in the final years of his career. But he's about to enter, unfortunately, for the first time, the NBA wilderness, and that contract has a lot to do with it.
And who did we see this just recently happen to, the beginning at least, is Carmelo Anthony. And you saw how that played out for him as he went team to team.
And he's not to that place yet.
No, just the very beginning.
And Chris Paul is, even though he's prickly, he adds more value in the locker room and outside than Melo did. But you're right, that Melo was here, and then all of a sudden, the contract was an albatross, bought out, and then couldn't catch on.
And it happened pretty quickly.
Yep.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, does Kawhi Leonard have a personal vendetta against the Lakers? That's next on First Things First.
Vendetta.
I like that.
Melo and them are running today at U.S. Fitness.
US
he ain't on the
Fitness.
first game.
I love US
He got
Fitness.
this. Yeah.